Joy, the Accra International Conference Center is where we're going to have the new mining policy on skill mining well outdoored for the public to get to know what really the direction of government, the government that is led by the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is towards small-scale mining. Just as a recap, we know that about 21 months ago, that moratorium was placed, and it was all in a bid to make sure that we had the sector that was well sanitized. And following that, we had the establishment of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. Professor Frimpong Boateng heads that committee, but we have also other members of the committee as well. Throughout, they've had a number of bodies and action have been taken to make sure they streamline the sector. Some of them have been innovative, use of drones and various means of technology verification to get to know who has which paper or which document to warrant a concession and who can qualify going forward, which areas also need to be done. But today, we'll be just highlighting on the issues that will be happening here. But going forward, what should we be looking forward to? So we have Charles Bissio. Charles Bissio is a secretary to the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. He has two names sandwiching all that. So we have Cromwell and Onyawanto. Charles Cromwell, Onyawanto Bissio. Thanks for joining us once again. You've done tremendous work, and I'll just going through some of the concept papers and some things that you have published. And apparently, you try to do the linkages between what the registration should be for tin, and also using drones and all that to get to where we are. And today is the culmination of all the effort that you've undertaken. And what would you say, by way of your own description, what you have done so far? How would you describe what you've done by way of looking forward?
Okay, mining has been in this country for time immemorial. Ghana used to be the Gold Coast, and then we have Elmina, which is the mines. So it means it's something that we've been doing for years. But formalizing it has been difficult. Even though we have laws governing the area, enforcement of the law has been difficult, and successive governments to do it, and it has proven difficult because of the psychology of the people who are in that realm. I.e., his parents have been doing mining and all that. You wake up in the morning, and then you go to the farm and you find minerals, and then you go out there and then mine it out and not pay taxes and all that because you think it's yours. And then as a society we evolve, so laws come in. The laws that we have says the minerals beneath the surface of the earth belongs to the state. So it means that you cannot wake up and go behind your house and then actually start mining gold. And so we all have to, the rule of law must prevail. Now, Minerals Commission, EPA, Forestry Commission, Water Resources Commission, they all have roles to play as per the law. But then it hasn't been effective. It is no fault of theirs. It could be those in the sector, those who mine and all that. So it all boils down to leadership. And so culminating the appointment of or the elections of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he actually said he's resolute in dealing with the matter. And so he formed the Inter-Ministerial Committee. And our aim is, one, to save the environment, because you're going to have all the money in the world, and without the environment you can't live. Bad water and all that. And even some of us live in Accra and think that the illegal mining menace is prevailing in maybe somewhere in Wase Kropon or Amansia West and all that. And we remember Buruli also. Now, let's say you have plantain plantation or orange plantation. That orange is cultivated there, and then they bring it to Accra, and it has mercury in it. So it's a cancer that we all have to fight it with the national approach. Hence where we are today. Nana Addo placed the ban, his government placed the ban on all mining activities within the country, not the large scale, the regulated large scale, but where we had problems and all that. And he actually gave us mandate that we should strengthen the agencies that had been established by law, ensure that those in the area who hitherto thought that their grandparents and all that is their bona fide property and all that, cite them and all that. So we've done a lot of work. Whilst doing it, there are two forms of learning. You have the Piaget and the Vygotsky's form of learning, where one says the child as a scientist and the child the child as a scientist, and then that's where you allow the child to go and discover. So you go and then you hit a roadblock and then you learn from them. And then we have the scaffolding approach. So with this, we hitherto the scientific approach where you allow the child to discover was there. And then when the ban was placed, we had to use the scaffolding approach. Had to look through the licenses. The license mandates one to mine gold. As I said, that any mineral beneath the surface of the earth belongs to the state.
Yeah.
So you must have a license, just like driving a car on the road.
Exactly.
So that is the primary data that we required. We were looking for 1,350 of them. That 1,350, when we called them to bring that forward.
And if you say 1,350,
lines,
I think those were what was documented when you look through the books.
Yeah, that was valid as at 1st of 2017.
Okay.
There was a catchment or category for that. Out of that, about 900 came forward. It even took us 5 weeks for them to come forward, whereas we were supposed to do that within a week. The reason behind that was that people thought that the Ghanaian approach, we're only going to do that for a week or so and then allow them to do that. But instead, and then they eventually got what we wanted. We had flimsy excuses where people said they couldn't even get from where they live to the secretariat to bring their documentation. Yeah. But then if you're going for the license for the first time, you'd find money to do that. Anyway, we waited, and then 800 and something came. And the rest, when they realized that no, it wasn't going to be a 9-day wonder, then they actually brought their license. So we have 900 and something now. Now, the rest that did not come forward, we found out that some of them had ghost names, a lot of infractions and all that. And the culpability does not lie of the minor, but those technical gave that as well. Because if you are issuing a license, there's something called negligence. I don't know if it will exist, but then if you are in a fiduciary position and you're working for the state, there are certain things that you have to look at that. Your commission, omissions, and your acts and all that. So if you issue a license to somebody to go mine gold, and you do not even know where the concession is, then, I mean, you're negligent. So we looked at a host of things, and they brought that forward. Started vetting. They thought that it could be the people came in with documents. The police to arrest them, which is still under investigation and all that. So a whole lot came in. And it is because of the system that had existed, where they thought some people print out their own receipts and all that. But now, the leadership that we have now is telling you that you cannot get away with it, because even if next elections, we are looking at the next generation, and within that, the next election becomes a domino effect.
And so ultimately, you've been able to use, I'm just reading that you use drones and you use them to do some reconnaissance activities, you pick data, you got to know which areas. What really were the techniques and the mechanisms that were used to do the mapping out, so to speak? Because you need to go in there to get to know by yourself once also you did the enforcement bit.
Okay, now you see, ages ago, where I remember when you have to go and see somebody at Cape Coast or Takrady, you go to the station and then you sit in a vehicle, and then you get there and you're told that the person has traveled for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One, you save cost of traveling, the time and all that. So that was even affecting the economy. Now technology has come in to do a lot. So even before you travel, you can even call the person and find out. Yeah. So sometimes we have managing a virtual organization where you can even have a company somewhere, and the company you are geographically positioned somewhere. So you can choose one or the other. As I said, we're using the scaffolding approach where we go step by step. So we're putting a lot of impediments in the way, and also measures that they will come to understand, because you need to get them to associate certain things with certain things. So one, if the Minerals Commission or EPA officer was coming to your concession to check what you're doing, and then somebody picks up the phone or somebody gives them a hint and then you bolt. Now, the drone is faster than that. Two, we have satellite imagery at our monitoring center where we can zoom into the concession. When they came in for the vetting process, we didn't just interact with them. Your concession is shown to you on a screen.
Okay.
Yes, and then you're told what you've done. If you've mined beyond your boundaries, there are rules and all that. So basically, the whole exercise, the preconditions that the president directed that we do or carry out was to get the primary data, i.e. the number of licenses that are valid in this country, and then you marry it with a concession somewhere. So we have that data. We know how many mining concessions.
So you did some key benchmarking activities just to make sure that you verified whether really people who came forward were the owners of the concessions, that they had, their documentation was valid, etc.
Yeah.
But how did you then do the reintegration then, or perhaps try to bring them in after going through all these processes and say maybe you have qualified and so now this is the way forward, this is what you can do?
It's not all the 907, I wouldn't say are qualified. Each and every has a problem with the documentation. So do you victimize them? That's a choice to make. Or do you sanction people and all that? Is there a point of granting amnesty and saying you've been a bad boy, a slap on the wrist? There's so many ways in dealing with it. But we are looking at going forward. So most of them, I think, will be on probation for maybe 3 months, 6 months. Then the onus is on us to actually go and monitor, so that we're not, as negligent as the previous, what people have done before, where you've issued licenses and then you just allow them to go on their own frolic. We are going to go and monitor and ensure that.
Well, Mr. Bisu, to monitor is expensive. We're talking about places that are just beyond the eye of the ordinary community, etc.
Okay.
They are in vast vegetative areas, etc.
Okay, but if you put it on a scale, would you spend money to save lives and your environment? I would go for.
Well, I'll spend money.
Yes, and then we have a situation where $5 billion is gone missing, of our minerals has gone missing. Are we going to sit there and say, keep losing that? I would look, first of all, to save the environment, which the president is doing.
Okay.
And then also put in measures where we can actually block certain things, because the mining is part of our economy. I think it's the backbone of our economy until we had oil and all that. So if we protect it well, then all the leakages are blocked. Then in the end, or in the long run, we realize that you've maximized profit, you've accrued benefits for the country and all that, and your environment is safe.
Okay. As we try to wrap up our discussions, so today what's going to happen? We're going to say that from now you can go into the forest and go or the concessions and go and mine?
No.
A free for all these people?
No, mining in forest reserve is a no-no. And what we're seeking to do is enforce the laws, strengthen the agencies. So today, as I said, the preconditions within the roadmap, we've actually done them, vetting lines. So when it's not written, it's not real to me. So we have a data which we can actually access. And then the ministers, Professor Frimpong Boateng, the chairman of the committee, and the other ministers will come out and actually talk about the policy framework, a framework that we are all going to adhere to. But as I said, the monitoring is an important thing, which I think we've put measures in place.
The headlines we love putting in the media is that we've lifted the ban on illegal mining. That's it, right? Is that what we have to call it?
Not illegal
because
mining.
It's a process, right?
Yes, but not a ban on illegal mining, because I think that's tautology.
Okay.
Lift a ban on illegal
small-scale mining.
Small-scale mining, but we are looking at regularizing it. So don't think a ban has been lifted and so you can go on and carry on and do what. I do not know even if the ban is going to be lifted today. That is within the prerogative of the ministers. The directive that the president gives is what they carry. I'm the secretary and I only communicate.
My last question before I let you go. So going when they get back into their concessions, what are we going to see? For those who want to make an entry, those who have difficulties, they want to make a re-entry.
So all that is contained in the document that is coming out, but the application process will be made easier. The law says that within 90 days or 5 months, you should get your license. Why shouldn't it be so? Why would somebody create an artificial delay? The Galam stop is coming to do that. We'll all follow the application life cycles and see who is creating an artificial delay.
How many weeks does it take? Using the Galam stop and all that, and all the
law says 90 days as Minerals Commission, and then I think 60 days at the Minister's office. So why should it take 4 years and 5 years? So we are ensuring that is because beyond this, anything that we do after this, and people that fight against the system are traitors to the country, I believe.
All right, thank you very much. I've enjoyed the discussion, but I know that it's a busy day for you. Your secretariat had been doing a lot of work, and we wish you all the best. We can always partner and do many things together to make sure that we prevent the pollution of the water bodies. Mining goes on a small scale level, the way that will be regulated, and everybody will be the better for it.
Okay, but thank you. I'll commend the media for helping the government, but then the onus is on you now because we've given you the tools and all that, and then
you want us rather to go into and go and see whether the right things are also being done.
At the fourth estate of the realm, I believe that you have a duty to the nation as well. So we've given we're all Ghanaians. We've given you the parameters, and I think we all have to conform to that.
Yeah, that's a big task. You have to give us resources. But Charles Cromwell Onyanwonto is the secretary to the committee. It is an interministerial committee on illegal mining, and Professor Frimpong Boateng heads that committee as well. But we'll be speaking to a number of personalities. But we showed you a first documentary. Let's show you a second one. It gives us a better perspective on what we should look forward to, not only today, but after today's event.
We are here in Asichari, at the Asichari training camp, with the commanders of the 64 Infantry Brigade. And here we came for the closing ceremony of the training of 140 graduates from the NAPCO program. Some months ago, they received training at University of Mines and Technology in Takwa as to how to fly drones. So they are drones pilot. They have been trained to fly drones. And so the president, in his attempt to fight illegality, wants the best out of all the people engaged in this fight. So with his permission, we send these 140 men and women to come and acquire some military discipline and training at this camp. So they've been here for 2 weeks. And we are very happy with what you are seeing. They are disciplined. They went through the obstacles professionally. And if they have been able to acquire this training in 2 weeks, it tells you about the quality of men and women that we have in the armed forces. And so we are very happy that the 64 Infantry Brigade assisted us in this exercise. But let me also stress that it also points to the seriousness which the government, especially the president, attaches to this fight against illegal mining. For us to employ people, take them through training in the university and then military training here, it tells us that we are ready to win this fight to protect our environment and our biodiversity.
Today we are at the Asichari training camp, and the core you've seen here belong to the digitized Ghana model. Digitize Ghana was meant to be the technology and innovation-driven module to assist not only in the digitization of records at births and deaths, at Lands Commission, helps with the digital addressing and help with the national identification exercise, but also we have projects like the Galam Stop and then the anti-Galamsey campaign in collaboration with the interministerial team chaired by the sector minister, Professor Boateng. And then we have Charles, who is in charge of that as the secretary to the committee. And what we've done is a collaboration that selected 140 people from the Digitized Ghana module to assist in the process by helping in the data capturing, flying the drones to make sure that any sort of activities in terms of the damage that has and the degradation that has occurred already, they are able to profile that so we have a record of it, so that the improvements that are done over time, the data will not contradict any sort of narrative that is being given out there by the sector or even by other people who are engaged in this sort of illegality.
We've got about 90 or so drones which we are going to deploy in all the mining communities. And these are the pilots who are going to pilot the drain and also acquire data. Because once they are there, they will gather some data, pictures, and other things which will be transmitted to our headquarters. And these are the people who will do that, take the pictures, acquire the data, transmit them, and there will be also a few of them in Accra who will interpret the data so that Ghanaians, it will be in a form that all Ghanaians will understand and appreciate. And this will also be given to you, the press people, so that at any one time, you know what you are doing. And as you know, we have a software called the Galam Stop. Galam Stop. And this is a software which we are deploying to follow the life cycle of application. In the past, if a miner wanted to get a license, you go to Minerals Commission, apply for a license, you go through the process, and after the Minerals Commission has given a license, you move to the EPA, and then through the regulatory agencies. But the Galam Stop has been programmed in such a way that when you go to Minerals Commission, EPA will be triggered, so you don't have to go to EPA. So all the agencies will be triggered, and they will do their part of the licensing process, so that at the end of 90 days, you should get your license. And so some of these people will also be involved in that kind of exercise.
Following the outdooring of the whole process, as we're witnessing today. But a number of personalities also with great expertise, great knowledge in the industry. Members of the vetting committee, and we have Professor is a mining engineer, mechanical engineer as a background, is with UMAT, so to speak, and also does a lot of work, is on a board of a number, if not one or two other institutions, and so has great expertise on it. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And I also have Reverend Dr. Ofe Akrofi, and thanks for joining me too.
Thank you, sir.
He's from the survey background, so they did a number of work with the mapping, etc. Let me start with him. You did a number of activities ensuring that you mapped out areas, etc. Yeah. How comprehensive was that? What really was done, knowing that we have vast acreages of land that you needed to work?
The survey team comprised 3 teams, and each team we went from district to district. In fact, we started from the central region on the 1st of October. We went to Dadieso, the 3 teams. First, we had an advanced team. They go first to see the district's chief executive. We meet with concession owners, and then after that, we go to the individual concessions to do the mapping. Prior to our going there, we ask hit their boundaries. And then where their beacons were not available, they should put iron pegs, at least, so that when the survey team arrives, they will take the team to the site and then we do the survey.
But those were vast areas. So in order for you to work wholesomely, you decided.
No, for small-scale mining, the largest you can have for a consumer is 25 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were multiples of 25 acres or less. Yeah.
So you were sitting in Accra monitoring?
No, I was on the field.
Ah, you were one of the soldiers, so to speak, on ground, I mean.
Yes, I was on the ground, yeah.
Okay. All right, but Professor Simmons, ultimately, we know it's a complicated industry, right? Okay, prior to now, because it was riddled with a proper lack of the regulation that it needed. Everything was just helter-skelter. Communities were also participating, and so the leaders of those communities, indeed the leaders of our country, were just were turning a blind eye virtually. So how difficult was it making sure to deal with individuals who came forward with papers saying that, well, we had legal licenses, and knowing that after verification you could get different responses?
Yeah, well, I must say that there are steps that we took. In fact, first of all, we tried very much to link the person present look out for the owner information. So this one, we look at the registration of the company and then we look at the licensing of the concession. Who signed for the concession, and you have directors for the registration of the enterprise or the company at Director General. We need to first of all establish that. Then from there we moved on to the mapping issue, whether your concession has been mapped. Going forward, we want you to have the PPE, the equipment for your workers. You have to have insurance policy for them. You have to have social security. Yes, also for them. So we took them through, but already some of them attended training at UMAT. But still, when they come before us, we take them through because some send other employees to attend. Then from there, we brief them that if everything is okay, your TIN number, or the TIN itself is tax identification number, yeah. So the TIN should match or should have a linkage to the company. If that is not done, then it means, you are either not the owner or perhaps you're trying to dodge the tax, system. When all things are good, then we look at your permit, EPA permit, and then the operating or the digging permit. In fact, some of them did not submit at all, okay? And when we look at all these things and you are good, we give you the verification card, which you have to paste at the concession. And it has a place where it can easily be scanned to get all your information out. And so that is what we did. But there are challenges. Go through and then place some emphasis on them.
In terms of the responses, got you amused? Because I know in Ghana, we could have people having their names on a certain document, but then those who doing the work will be different. It's possible maybe people could even have concessions. Responses that you thought were very bemusing.
Well, I think there were several of such. People who had registered companies in other people's names. So he claims to be the owner of the company, meanwhile he's giving it a different name. The signature may be his, but the name doesn't carry companies thing, and that's one of them. And people trying to impersonate, standing in as if they are owners of companies that they were not. And then one amazing thing was about the groups, where most of them claimed that their group members were dead, and then after further interrogation, a day or two, you have a few of them resurrecting and then appearing before the committee.
Quite interesting. But does it mean that in the first place, you had to do the realignment, trying to verify or ascertain if you are documentation they needed to be revoked or they needed to do a new one?
In fact, there are numerous, challenges. Was registered in 1999, and a group is formed by 10 people. Okay, so each person had 5, and then after some time, when they needed to re-register the company, one person decided to wipe out the other group, and he brought 10 new people. So that one we couldn't work with it. We ordered him to go back and then bring the original document was not there. He came to Accra, the original document was not there. So the point is, how come or how was he able them out that they should go find that? It took them about 2 weeks for them to
were they in groups, like they own the concession in a group?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So it took them some time, and they finally came back. And then we settled the issue and made sure that each leader has 4 people to his team. There were so many instances where one person, had 10 ghost names. Yeah. And he used his own personal signature to sign for all the 10.
The same signature or different?
The same.
Okay.
The same. So amazing. And you wonder who supervised that.
All right. I have to let you go. And I know that we're going to get more information as we have this ceremony off. But thank you very much. We've been speaking to Professor Anthony Simmons, a member of the vetting committee, and they've done tremendous work. But one person who has been at the forefront of all of this, who is heading the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, is the Minister for Environment and Science. And Professor Frimpong Boateng has enormous knowledge in the sector, but also is passionate about what he does and for others as well.
The support from the president himself.
Undertaking the mining because they want some revenue to eke a living. It depends on which sector they look at them, they are situated, and the communities also tend to be affected one way or the other, and ultimately the general population, because somehow if a farm produces from a mining community, you in the city center also you get affected. How were people very integral in all the thoughts, the thinking in what you were doing?
Well, you see, we are not talking about the scale of mining. We are talking about the illegality that was going on. The very small scale miners without licenses, what we call the Galamsey people, small scale, and even the big mining companies, the large scale mining companies can also create illegalities. And that's the emphasis of our work. But I think your question is trying to direct me to the effect of the moratorium on the lives of people in the mining communities in terms of their economic empowerment. Yes, certainly there were complaints, but they even agree that we did the right thing in trying to halt illegality so that there'll be sanity, and then going forward, we'll all do the right thing, get our money, and also preserve the environment.
But we still see that some of the water bodies, well, they are better than before, are still a bit poor in color.
Yes, that is true, but it's going to take some time, months, maybe years, but eventually we'll get the water clean.
There's a story that we covered just about 3 days ago. Our correspondent in the Ashanti region, Erastus Asaridon, had Chinese nationals in there. They had even done feeder roads in between the reserve. What do you after the reserve?
Yes, the good thing is that we have stopped the illegality going on there. We have removed the miners, the foreigners involved have been brought to the immigration in Accra. We are cutting the equipment, a piece of equipment that have not been licensed.
Then also we do it in such a way that everybody gets a thorough understanding of what the policy direction is.
So it's a combination of education and enforcement. You are right, we need to educate people and get them to understand that this is where we are going, this is the option. But at the same time as well, we also need to enforce and ensure that the laid out pattern is followed. If we do not do that, then we run the risk of losing all the gains that have been made so far. The president was quite clear that even with all the touting of political risks associated with this enterprise, he was committed to rolling out this ban and these reforms, and he has put in place the resources and the mechanisms to make it happen. And we're happy to be at this juncture today.
How do we tend to realign ongoing illegal activities still in some reserves, in some communities, even though we have associated efforts by way of enforcement through Operation Vanguard, allied agencies, and we're having all these?
Well, we can't align the illegal activities with the new channels that we seek to open. I think it was to a chapter who said the revolution continues unabated. The clampdown on illegality, the clampdown on irresponsibility will continue unabated. However, it is not to say that even those who intend to do things properly should also, may I say, be punished for the wrongs that are being perpetrated by those who don't want to do it right. So clamp down on those who don't want to do it right. But for those who want to do it right, you open the channels, you give them the training. And so currently we've trained, I think, over 3,000 of these small-scale miners who we are happy to give an opportunity to mine through this new, may I say, policy framework. We are also, today you hear details of what we call the community mining concept, which allows particularly those who used to be involved in galamsey and who want to mine to have an opportunity to be licensed, given a proper concession, regulated. You've seen just there, and I hope your cameras have picked there. These are some of the drones that we have worked on. We've trained over 140. From the command center, and ensure that people are not employing methods that are align the irresponsible and illegal things with what we want to do. We want to rather ask people to come into the proper space so that you can mine and get the benefits, but you don't do it contrary to law and to good practice.
So you're saying from today, we're not going to have any phrase called galamsey activity?
I haven't said that. What I'm saying is that we are rolling out a new policy framework, and we expect everybody to get into that new policy framework. Those who were previously doing small-scale mining without concessions and licenses, you have an opportunity to get into community mining and get a concession and a license and do that. Those who are doing it just because they didn't know what was right and were employing all sort of chemicals, you have an opportunity to be trained and to get in here. But and you want to still engage in mining in water bodies, in forest reserves, against the law and against good practice, then we will have to employ the new security measures to ensure that that doesn't transpire.
And for good reason. But ultimately, we're going to have activities that will be done by people who have good intentions. They want to enter an industry, but if you interact with some of them who have been through the processes, they seem to have a certain perception that it looks too rigorous and very prohibitive in making entry.
Well, so we have institutional reforms that are supposed who want to get in can get in without much difficulty. There were a lot of gaps in the, may I say, the regulating agencies, and I did hear some of our colleagues explain some to you. Charles explained some of these issues. Part of the institutional reform exercise is to tidy all of these things up, so that if you really want a concession, so that you can go out there and do your work well, you can get a concession. You can pay ostensibly in an attempt to get various documents to go in. We can curb it, and you can go to a one-stop shop that will now be responsible for engaging with all of the other agencies. We have Galam Stop that ensures that there's a proper online tracking of all the documentation associated with it, and in real time is connected even to the sites, and we can validate.
We drive through roads made by these illegal miners in a once virgin restricted forest. They link one mining site to another deep in the reserve. This is the Apamprama Forest Reserve, under the watch of the Forestry Commission. Now come with me as I take you through the devastation caused by illegal mining, even within a mining ban. Many rare tree species nurtured for years have been felled with reckless abandon. At best, the miners process some into planks to construct makeshift sheds. The rest of the logs are buried deep under heaps of earth created around large uncovered pits. The destruction to these virgin forests is huge, over 15 different locations, each about the size of 10 football fields combined. Several hectares of land destroyed in this manner, deep within the forest reserve. Now, many questions arise at the moment, and some of those questions are, so this devastation went on, and the Apraman Forest Reserve sites are right here. The Forestry Commission says it had no evil, it did not see anybody bringing in heavy equipment. This has lasted for close to a year. No government official got wind of it, or nobody was prepared to even face them. At one such site in the Cobra Forest, head of security for mining firm Heritage Imperial Mining Company, ex-WO Adubuatin, told the task force it has the blessing of people he describes as high-powered to carry out operation in the area.
We are here. There's a document. No problem. A miner. Do you understand? I'm not a miner. So
in the last 5 days, a bold and relentless enforcement of the ban on small-scale mining has led to arrest of 20 Chinese nationals, 4 of them in the Diaso Forest Reserve at the weekend. 10 of the excavators have been sent to Accra and many mining settlements destroyed by the task force. Task Force Commander W1 Isaac Nyako is overwhelmed by the wanton destruction of forest.
Indeed, this is the largest. In fact, I don't even know how to start and how to end. I'm even shocked seeing the ground like this. The largest so far at this very site.
Leader of the Interministerial Task Force, Nana Jekum, says the fight will continue. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaridonko, Kumasi.
If you do with infrared, it will also going to do a similar thing, which will be color-coded, and each of the color codes will mean something. And so if you were using something on thermal, or you wanted to check something on heat, it could give you the indications, will give you whether it's an issue, like the heat is higher than the other. So temperature, yes.
On ground?
Yes.
Almost like satellite imagery?
It's similar.
Almost?
Yes, I think the whole technology is called remote sensing. This is remote sensing in a broader sense, but specifically when you use images and you create maps out of them, then you call it photogrammetry.
Okay. And so that's your expertise. That's all basically what. How much does this cost? One of them. I mean, supposedly I want to go and buy one.
I'm not in that.
It's not your job to tell me how much it costs.
No, I don't even know.
Yeah, that's okay. I also don't know either. But this one is what?
This one is a fixed wing, and I think we have Dr. who would talk about this.
So Dr. Mante is here. What's your first name, sir? Dr.
Xavier.
Dr. Xavier Mante.
Yeah.
Save us by telling